Hello, my friends. Adam Bush, Chris Munch,
Hello.
Biscuit for the Biscuit podcast. Welcome to the episode. This is a cool one. We've never done this before. We're doing a two-parter. All right. So we're looking at the year ahead, 2023, and some of the conversations we've had and what it looks like being a comic and an actor in Tulsa, Oklahoma this next year.
T-Town.
And so we're going to go into part one, and then it'll kind of end in the middle, and then next week we'll have part two. So here is part one.
Enjoy.
You were telling me that your kids love the podcast.
My kids do love the podcast.
You got specifically your two older girls, your twin girls.
Yes, Annie and Ella.
And they're 15.
15. Yeah.
Our target mark.
That's it. That's really where we're 15-year-old twin girls. I think is especially
Sorry.
twins.
That's so inappropriate. Yeah. I want to do a podcast for twins.
Young
twins.
Young
Ugh,
twins.
I can't even say it.
Well, Adam, you're making it inappropriate.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I wasn't thinking of it as being inappropriate.
It's your family.
The joke to me is more just like, why would teenage girls want to listen to us talk about?
Three middle-aged dudes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's fun. But yeah, they love it. They don't like my contributions to the show as much as they like Adam and Gary's.
Did you say, I'm a large part?
Like, your stories are boring, Dad.
So they don't want
I think they were saying that more just because they've heard these stories before.
Would they be interested in a spinoff of just Adam and Gary?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting. Now we're getting...
Well, maybe you just save your stories for the podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh, that maybe I just stopped communicating with my children.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way.
I will say...
I could parent through the podcast.
Make it a one-way relationship. The only way they know you is through the podcast.
That's it.
You're like, what I've been thinking about in regards to savings accounts.
Yes.
And where my check when I worked at a fast food restaurant.
Do you guys want to talk about driving? Cautious driving? How to safely... Driver's ed? You guys want to talk about any of that? Yeah, they've got their permits, but...
oh, yeah.
It's way scarier than I thought it was going to be, driving with a 15-year-old.
Yeah, is it because they don't know what they're doing?
Oh, yeah. And there's so many things that you take for granted that you think everybody knows not to do this.
Like what?
Or to do this. Just like staying in the lane. or where...
That's so basic.
Where in the lane you should be.
I thought you were going to say something like, well, just being aware of other drivers. You wouldn't maybe necessarily know if you weren't a driver, but you're just like stopping at the stop signs.
Right. Well, they do that, but like for Annie, one of the our main things when we first started was she would just kind of always drift way to the right side of the lane because she didn't want to be in the oncoming traffic lane. So she would always stay away from the yellow line. But I was like, I kept feeling like we were about to drop off the side of this road.
Oh.
And so...
Well, like on the highway or just
just like on back roads. Okay. Yeah, back roads.
Have you been on the
highway? I feel that way when Ginger drives.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's afraid of the oncoming traffic. I'm like, I feel the edge of the road.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's just like a long ditch or something. You just feel like you can see if those wheels fall off. Then it's like she's not going to know how to. We're going to go flying off into the trees or something. You're just like, this is so uncomfortable.
But do you think? I feel like I wouldn't be as scared as you are if I was teaching your girls how to drive.
Yeah, maybe not.
My nieces, I've let them drive, like in a parking lot, and it was fine. But then when Brady's doing it, I'm like, whoa.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. We drove for a long time in a school parking lot, and I never was afraid. Like, I'm just like, you guys are guys. And they hit a curb one time, wasn't a big deal. Like it wasn't that scary. I think that's what I mean. Like when we got out on the streets, though, it was just like it was way scarier than I thought it was gonna be. It's like you see the red light, right? Yeah, okay, brake. Okay, just like it's just the lack of control, and you want to believe the best that they know what they're supposed to do, but then also you also don't want to assume they know, and then you run into the back of something, and you're like, I thought you knew to stop. I thought you saw it. I thought you saw it, or whatever. So
when I was a kid, I don't know if your driver's ed was like this, but in Louisiana, you went to a class in summer, and then you had to schedule a driving lesson with, at the time it was a football coach.
Oh yeah. I totally did this. Yeah.
Okay. So it was like, it was Coach Ashley was his name. And it was me and another kid and Coach Ashley. And we're driving the car, and we drive for maybe like, I'd probably say about an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then we drive to my house. He has a form. He fills it out. At the bottom, it says how many hours driven. He wrote 6 and then handed it to me. I was
was he getting paid by the hour?
I guess so.
Oh my God.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Just teaching honest. Is this the Louisiana school?
Oh yeah.
School system?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember just like as a kid, and I just like, okay, well, I guess this is how we do it. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of those details, but I do remember driving with a teacher, but I think he was a coach in the summertime.
That's the prerequisite for teaching driver's ed, is you
have to coach.
Have to be some level of coach.
Yeah. Well, so you get to do the thing you love. You have to do the thing you don't want to do.
Well, I used to work with schools, I guess to be a superintendent. And I remember overhearing him one time, like offering someone a job, like a teacher. He was just like, all right, so you're going to get paid like, I don't know, I'm just making up numbers. You're going to get paid $28,000 a year to teach this class. And then if you're willing to be the volleyball coach, you get an extra $2,000. And I was like, oh, that's what's happening here.
I see.
You're getting these like, well, if I do this other little thing and I make a little bit more money.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. I mean, I guess I could have figured it out.
I didn't know how that worked either.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at us learning.
Isn't that what the podcast is all about?
I think that is what the podcast is about.
You know what? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. You're welcoming me and everyone else.
Well, that's where I play the music. Welcome to the podcast. This is our first episode
in the new year.
In the new year that we're filming in the new year. Adam, Chris, and Gary, welcome.
What's up, everyone?
To all of us.
Thank you for spending part of your whatever time of day it is with us.
You sound like a pastor.
Do I?
Well, then that kind of what they say at church. It's like, thank you for spending part of your weekend with us.
Oh, yes, I guess I do say that.
What they say.
Yeah, yes. I mean, some say that.
Sure. Yeah, some say
you had choices and you chose us.
Yeah, that's what American Airlines always says. Yeah. Oh, one of the things American says, Adam's travel tips. I don't know if the travel info. I've noticed this recently. Every time I get on an American flight, they say, "You're the reason we fly."
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're not here, you don't fly. That's the whole thing.
What an amazing slogan. So truthful.
So just I wish it was more basic. Like, it's just like, if you didn't buy a ticket, we wouldn't do this.
Yeah. Can we get it a little more granular here? If you weren't sitting in the seats, we wouldn't even take off.
So factual.
Boy, that's good.
Thank
you. Thank you, American Airlines.
Oh man, I feel so.
Don't you feel seen?
I do. Oh yeah. Every time they say, because I'm an Advantage member, their frequent flyer program. Every time they say,
show off. Okay.
Yeah, show off, a free program that anybody can be a part of. Every time they do the opening announcements, they always say, "Welcome to American Airlines, and a special welcome to our Advantage members."
Ooh, special.
I'm just like, oh, yeah. I don't feel any of that. It's not like, I don't know what hoo-ha was like. You know what'll make people feel really good?
You know, we should welcome them specially.
Let's give them a
special welcome.
I love the idea. I just stand up. It's like, that's for me. That's for me, everybody.
You should totally just stand up next to them and be like, thank you. Appreciate that.
I know that's most of us, could be all of us.
But thank you.
Oh, it feels so good.
It Hertz does a thing where
be seen.
when they're dropping you off, they're like, "Do we have any Hertz membership gold members or whatever?"
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They make it sound like it's an exclusive thing.
Yeah.
But then it's also like every other thing, you can do it for free.
Yeah, it's just
like
a free
you just
sign
have
up.
to create a password.
Yeah. You just have to think ahead.
That's amazing.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. That Avis
I think it's appropriate time to welcome our Risk It for the Biscuit Gold members. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you. A special welcome to our Risk It for the Biscuit Gold members.
Yeah, actually, I'll take it. Like, these are real people who have said something. I'm going to mention real people who have said something to me about the podcast.
Okay.
All right. Our good friend Abby Rawlings. Hello, Abby. Oh, wait. No, you're not. Okay.
I'm not a big fan.
Not a huge fan. Okay.
I'm kidding. I love you, Abby.
Tiffany Tolbert. Hello to you. Our very good friend, I almost said Chad. Scott Bloom.
Scotty.
Hello, Scott.
Scotty Bloom.
We were just
Bloom and Onion.
we were Is that what you call it?
Just now I'm starting that.
Our friend who we performed with, Michelle Van Dusen, who's a fellow comic.
Yes, Michelle.
Hello to you, Michelle. Andrew Welch. I always say his last name incorrectly, but that's how you say it, because it's like Welch's grape juice. Yeah. That's what he says. Andrew, who I performed with, he's a comic here in Tulsa. Mitchell Scott. We did a show for Mitchell in just outside of Nashville.
Right. Yeah, in Nashville. Yeah.
And he left us a nice review on the old Apple Podcast.
Look at that. Thank you for that, Mitchell.
So hello to all of you. I'm sure there are other people who I'm not remembering. I would mention my wife, but she doesn't listen to it.
Yeah.
So, and then our best members, Annie and Ella Munch.
Yeah, Annie and Ella Munch.
We say hello to
our biggest fans of you guys.
Of us. Oh,
not so much me.
They sat by me and my daughter at Christmas.
That's right, they did.
And not by you. So.
No.
Yeah,
we should also just apologize to anybody tuning in who thought this podcast was about cookies.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, right. This is not about literal biscuits.
No. It's about now 3 guys, was just 2.
Yeah.
3 guys who left their careers to pursue kind of the next step professionally within the arts.
Yeah.
Risking it for the biscuit.
Yeah.
I'm a comic. I became a comic and a writer after working at a church for about 15 years.
I'm an actor and performer after working at a church for 22 years.
And then our pal Gary, who you don't get to see, but you get to hear him.
You get to hear him.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
If the mic is on.
Our friend Ethan Irway was saying the other day, I'd like to hear Gary more. Give him a mic.
There we go.
And
mic him up.
And he also worked at the same church that we worked at for a long time. And then he worked at another church-related organization. But then not long ago, he also stepped away to risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah.
To be a professional athlete.
I've
got to try out with the Bean Goals.
You got to try out
this offseason.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, actually, just so you know, if you like the way our podcast looks or the graphics, Gary makes all that stuff. It looks great.
That's me.
That's him.
Yes.
Yeah. Today, we're starting off the new year.
I have to say a shout out to Hazel and Lewis, too, if we're going to talk about 2 of my kids.
I didn't realize that they listened to it.
I don't know if they do. I think Hazel listens sometimes. So that just to avoid any kind of like difficulty, tension in the home.
Yeah.
Favoritism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, Hazel, Lou, chicken butt?
Should I say hello to my unborn child?
You know, you might want to do that just to cover your bases.
Ira Bush. See you in June 5th, Gary's birthday.
What's up, Ira?
And of course, Luna Joe. They'll never hear. Luna's 4. What are we
She
doing?
doesn't care about this podcast.
She doesn't. She only cares about Wreck-It Ralph. That's what we're watching. We were having a conversation this morning.
Yeah.
We were talking about the new year.
Yes.
And one of the last episodes, we talked about just looking back on 2022 and seeing, just they were awesome years for us. They were an awesome year for both of us, for all of us. And we were talking about some of the highlights of last year.
Yeah.
And now we're getting into the new year. We are...
So are you queuing up talking about lowlights? Is that what
Yes, lowlights. Yeah. Well,
I would say just like, it's funny how just starting a new year over again can just, I don't know, for me personally, it just kind of messed with my psyche a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
I think I was so focused on achieving goals and things through last year and just blew out of the water, honestly, everything I was hoping to achieve last year.
You gained a huge following on TikTok.
My grand slam goal for like followers on TikTok, I think was like 25,000 or something like that. It was what I was hoping to get over last year. And I'm at 107,000 as of this morning. And so it just like blew out of the water everything I was expecting. And like even the amount of money we made this year, like we were just like hoping to survive from all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
It was just hoping to just, not go bankrupt.
Right.
And so I don't know. Yeah. I mean, God's just been so good to us. And so, but it like,
so you had that, and then merch was a big one.
Oh yeah. We launched merch at the end of the year there in November, and that did really, really well. And so there was all these amazing wins, but I think like turning the page and now flipping over it almost feels like, oh, I got to do all this all over again. Like we're starting back at zero.
Yeah.
And so I think it just, I don't know. It's another learning for me of just like what it feels like to kind of not have a full-time job where you just like all these processes and all these things just kind of happen.
Yeah.
Whether you like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It just that feeling of like, oh, I have to kind of manufacture a lot of this again.
Yeah.
And it can just kind of be demoralizing. So like over Christmas break, we had really had an intention to just like really take some time off for a week there. And we did a pretty good job of that. But even then I still feel like, man, I still feel really tired.
Yeah.
It's from last year. And so I don't know, walking through that, I'm kind of like, there's a part of me that's like, what if January was still like part of like we don't have to blow it out in January. Like, what if we just kind of ease back into the year? I don't know.
Well, we were talking on the phone about how I was just saying to you that like, it's so interesting to hear you say that because there are so many things about what you're doing professionally that I am super jealous of. And they're things that just because you're living within it, you're taken for granted. Like,
oh, sure.
You have a much bigger following than me.
Sure.
The style of your comedy does lend itself to merchandise.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so those are two big things that like, I don't specifically have.
Yeah.
And so I think I told Chris this, that last year, or I guess it was 2021, I saw Nate Bargatze, the comedian in Tulsa, and I paid to do the meet and greet. And when I introduced myself, I said, I'm a comic, and do you have any advice for me? And he said, find your people and then just stick with them. And I have, as I've been a comedian, seen how lonely being a comedian is.
Yeah.
I mean, like I told you about, going on tour and just nights. Gary probably felt it the most because this last tour, when I did a bunch of the shows by myself, and I was just like, I'd go home or go to the condo or the hotel or my car or whatever. And I'd just be by myself again. And then when Gary would go on a trip, I'd be like, oh, this is so much better. A friend, but I realized he's coming from a place where he's saying like, this can be a very lonely, and I think the same is probably true of acting, very lonely profession. So having your people, which we've been really blessed to have the three of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is really important. And even for me to say, Chris, let me remind you about.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that it's so easy to lose perspective on things, and you saying you're jealous of things that I have or whatever. I mean, I would say the same thing about you in terms of your ability to perform live, and like you have so much more experience and connections and stuff with just presenting live. And And I feel like I kind of want to go there too. Like I want to get to a place where I'm performing live and all of that. And so there's a lot to figure out there. But yeah, it's just human nature to kind of downplay the things we have and look at the things we don't, and, you know, kind of put those things on a pedestal. Yeah. And so you need friends, you need people in your life to kind of go, hey, remember, this is what you have. And I know you did that for me this morning, and it was super helpful to me to just kind of, not take for granted just the incredible things. And I think where I get hung up sometimes is, again, coming from a job that, like, I could have this job forever. Like if I'm whatever.
When you worked at a church.
When I'm working at a church or just having a full-time job, you kind of just feel like, okay, well, I'm at this level.
Yeah.
And then that is going to last, you know, forever.
Right.
And so when I'm in a situation like now where it's just like, yeah, we had a great year last year, but there's not really any guarantee that that's going to continue this coming year.
Sure.
Like that could have been the peak.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those are the things that mess with me, where when I have my eyes on just like the metrics, mm-hmm. and not like having my eyes on the source being God, and being like, whenever I get my eyes off of God being the source of all of this, and I put it on my own shoulders, then it just becomes like overwhelming. And it makes me want to be like, oh, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And like drains me, and it sucks the fun out of it. And all of that. Because then it becomes this thing where you're like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just like our conversation this morning was even just a reminder of like, don't put all of this on your own shoulders, but mm-hmm. just see what God did this last year, and know that he's not leading me off of a cliff.
But you feel the pressure of this year has to be better than last year?
I think I want it to be.
I think all of us do.
Right. Like in terms of like, it was and again, I'm all kind of new to this, but from what I can tell, like the blessings that I had last year are just like, it's not that common for people to just kind of jump on social media and immediately start making money and all of that. And so but then it's also just like, well, is that going to last? Or how do I keep taking the next step? Or, are these characters getting boring? It's like, how many more Steven Stevens videos can I make? It's like, before this thing just is like, okay,
a comment will send you in a tailspin.
Oh yeah. I mean, it just even, I wouldn't say into a tailspin. They could, but.
Oh, just a little correction for me there. Okay. Sorry. That's fine. No, it's just.
Yeah. Do you feel the same thing, Adam, of going, last year was great, there's a lot more to do?
Yeah, well, I worked really, really hard on that tour for December, mm-hmm. and I was really proud of it. I mean, especially mm-hmm. for being a comic that is not well known, and being able to go on the road, make money, make people laugh, have some sellout crowds. Not that they were all there specifically to see me, but just that, I wasn't performing for 2 people. I mean, mm-hmm. I performed many shows for several hundred, and whenever we got through Christmas, and then we had a great break for New Year's, and then I kind of like came up and realized I don't really have that many shows this year, and I got to do this again. Mm-hmm. Because for me, I'm in a place in my career where I do have to drum up the business. I mean, I'm getting a little bit of, clubs or repeat clients, and I do have some this year. I have some repeat clients, which is nice, but I'm not like, nobody yet is asking to take me on tour. I don't have people like emailing me every day like, hey, can you come to this club or whatever? So I'm like, all right, let's do it again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know that I feel like it's got to be better than last year, but I do feel like I am a little tired, mm-hmm. and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, like, I think it was this big push up to Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just really tired. And when I get tired, I get pretty cranky.
Yeah.
And it's harder for me to see.
Oh, Lord, don't we know?
It's harder for me to see the positivity, like, because it's just like this next year could be absolutely incredible. Like there was this lady that I saw on YouTube that she had 400,000 followers on YouTube going into the year. And I would imagine she'd probably think, oh, it's pretty easy to think and that is amazing. That's incredible.
That's awesome.
But she left this year with almost 4 million. So it's like her channel exploded.
Wait, she started with
She started the year with 400,000.
She ended with 4
and
million.
they ended with nearly 4 million.
Okay.
So it's like, for me, I think the fear is just like, oh, we had a great run, but
sure.
Now it's fizzling out.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? What are you going to do to, like,
you guys had your fun.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's probably just human nature. And it's just a new and honestly, a new season of deepening my trust. And where is my confidence actually?
Sure.
Is my confidence in my own talent or my own ability to whatever, or is it my confidence in God's ability to provide? And whenever that gets blurry is just where anxiety and tension always shows up for me.
I think that gratitude, taking some time to write it down, has been really helpful for me.
Yeah.
I look back, I was telling you, and I'm in the same boat, but I was telling you, like, how amazing it is that you do get to do this.
Oh yeah,
as a job. That's not common.
It's incredible.
And if I mean, there is something to be thankful for. If it only was a year, like how amazing was that?
Exactly.
Most people don't get that opportunity.
Totally.
So for me, being thankful that that I've seen my Dry Bar special and that it'll come out this year is very exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The fact that I was able to go on a couple of tours, that I was able to quit my job and do this full time, that I have I talk about it a little bit on the podcast, but I show run a television show called The Page Finders, which won't come out for several years. It's an animated show, but I work on that all the time. Mm-hmm. And that is, it's my second television show, and I love it.
Yeah.
That is not common.
Right.
Yeah. And it's easy to take things for granted.
Totally.
But,
what's interesting too, in context of us kind of like stepping out of our full-time jobs, even just the satisfaction of knowing we tried.
Oh yeah.
Like for me, that's so meaningful to me. I maybe sound like I'm talking a little fatalistically here, but if it all fizzled out or whatever,
yeah,
I'd at least have the satisfaction of knowing that I tried.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I that has been a huge, I don't know, just how would I even describe it? Just a big thing for me, because for so many years, I think I always wondered what would happen if I tried.
Yeah.
And so to just kind of go like, hey, I tried.
Yeah.
And see where it goes, see what happens.
No, I think it's awesome, because I think that, what's the kind of cliche saying, like what you want is on the other side of fear or something or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like you take that a bunch of different ways, but I think that believing in yourself, and I'm not on this like thing about like you are your own hero, because I don't believe that. I don't believe we are our own heroes.
Sure.
But I do think that there is something to being optimistic about the gifts that God has given you,
sure, and
giving it a shot and doing your due diligence to say, I am gonna try.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Yeah.
At this. There's our friend Tiffany Tolbert. She mentioned the other day, we were all having dinner together, and she was talking about when she was younger, she was in a pageant, mm-hmm, and her talent was singing. Mm. And she said, guys, I'll be honest, I killed it. And I laughed so hard, and I said, because you guys are always making fun of me for being optimistic.
Yeah, sure.
But I said, Tiffany, I just really love that about you, that you're just like, this is how I feel about it. it was great.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it, and I'm proud that I did awesome.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
And so I think there is something to just saying, I think I'm good. I think I'm good at this. And I'm willing to, I can't believe risk it for the biscuit. I'm willing to give of my time and energy and money to see if this would work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be about a career, but just owning something about yourself that you're good at, I think is super helpful.
Well, I've got to know, how did Tiffany do in the pageant?
Did she win the pageant?
Oh, do you need to know?
Because if she was last place, then you just go, let's tone the optimism down, Tiff.
There's that pessimist. Let's find out.
Yeah, it's a fine line between.
She's working. She's not available until 3:30.
Let's see what happens.
Let's just see.
Hello, sir.
Hey, do you remember that story that you were telling me about how you sang at that pageant and you killed it?
So it wasn't a pageant.
Oh, what was it?
It was a high school basketball game.
But,
oh my God.
So there wasn't anything to win.
No.
But you did kill it.
100%. I was in high school and hardly anybody ever sang the national anthem for basketball games in high school. And I was like, I'll do it. And I killed it. And then my mom taped over it with my sister's talent show.
So your mom killed it.
And I'm 36 years old and I'm never going to let it go.
That's why you told me that story. That's right.
Yes.
All right.
No, that's it.
Well, I'm proud of you for believing in yourself.
Thank you.
And
all these years
later.
Yep. Powerful.
So if you ever need someone to sing the national anthem,
we know who to call.
That's right.
You know who to call.
All right, you got it. All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Bye.
Would she be interested in opening one of our podcasts with singing the national anthem?
I think she should just be on the podcast.
I think so too. Also, I love that she doesn't know that's going to be on the podcast. She's going to be listening to it and be like, wait, what?
Wait a second.
Yeah, I got to work really hard not to tell her. Yeah, so.
That's funny.
Yeah, I forgot that was the end of that story, that her mom taped over it. All right. Yeah, but hey, thanks for watching. I think we're there. Right. Thanks for watching the podcast or listening to the podcast. Hey, something that really helps us is if you give us a review on Apple Podcasts. That is very, very helpful. Also sharing it, whether it be on Instagram or any social media, that's helpful. And if you have any questions, you can, or want to say anything to us, riskitpod@gmail.com, or you can just comment on, one of our Instagrams at Hey Adam Bush, at Chris Munch Comedy. And thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Love you all.